Hello. Right now, fast trucks are making their way from Lewiston, New York to the charter township of Van Buren in Michigan. We don't want these materials to be brought to the state of Michigan. We'd prefer that they stay right where they are and be treated where they are, because there's a long story that goes along behind that. They're radioactive, apparently PCBs and PFAS in the shipments. A lot of nuclear radioactive material. I wrote and modified books on this and related subjects, including Nuclear Waste Heading to Michigan from New York State. So I went right for the straight-on title. You can find that on Amazon. Notes on PFAS contamination, also on Amazon. Handbook of PFAS and Municipal Sludge. And also Fire and Water, Aftermath of the East Palestine, Ohio rail disaster on southeast Michigan communities. And you can find all those on Amazon. There are at least 3 other enormous deposits of radioactive material in Lewiston that will apparently also be brought here or to some other unsuspecting community by the United States Army Corps of Engineers, to whom which the responsibility for this material was transferred from the Department of Energy of the United States back in I believe it was the 1990s, that we were told. Now, this material, it's not safe. It was made for war, and of course that's not why it's not safe, but it's not safe. It was made for war in a very rushed manner. In Hanford, Washington, where it was created, it was buried, dug up, and then transported to Lewiston, New York for treatment. That's what was going on with that. That happened back in the late 40s, early 1950s. Now, the contractor left the work undone because the federal government changed the rules on it, and they couldn't afford to do it, so they split. They just left it there, laying on the ground. Now, the material then was buried, again, in New York. It had been buried in Washington, then it was buried in New York. And the locals have found that the materials are too hot to keep, and they're moving through the earth to the Niagara River. That is the same thing that was happening in Washington. The material is making its way to Columbia River, and there's still stuff out there going there. Now, just because this material was taken out of Lewiston doesn't mean the material in the ground is still not heading for the Niagara River, so there's contamination there. Now, dug up that second time from Lewiston, New York, they're now on their way to Michigan, and there's trucks coming every day, 25 trucks. Driving about 900 miles from Lewiston, New York to Michigan on public federal highways. Of course, they're considered safe, we are told. So the Charter Township of Van Buren, let's focus on that for a minute. What is that? Now, the area that Charter Township of Van Buren is a highly there's 2 million people around here. And we got universities and hospitals and schools and families and everything. And the Van Buren Charter Township is very small. They got an airport over there. It was used for construction during World War II when they were making the bombers. And there's a lot of marsh over there, a lot of rivers and things. So there wasn't a lot of building that went on there. But I won't go into charter townships here in the state of Michigan, but let me tell you, that's a weird thing. And you can make a lot of money if you get yourself your own charter township, and that's what's pretty much going on in Van Buren. Now, they do not have, that local organization does not have the ability to ensure the safety of the public in the event of any problems. They're pretty much strapped just trying to take care of what they've got. They got no way to test it or even understand it, what it is. They don't know what it is, by their own admission. Now, as first responders, they are not equipped to deal with problems at the dump that this material is going into at this time, before this stuff even gets there. Just as they're not able to adequately ensure a timely public safety response at the other mega dumps under their care, right? Yeah, they got a whole bunch of them. Very few people, lots of gigantic landfills filled with toxic waste and all sorts of chemicals. It's nasty. Now, the materials in all the things that they oversee, and especially in the materials that are coming in these trucks, they contain mutagens and carcinogens. Mutagens are monster makers. That means that they cause birth defects. Carcinogens are materials that cause cancer. Now, there's no excuse for what is happening here, but there are pathetic reasons. They're pathetic. The people who created these and other materials, like them, knew they were dangerous. That's where they were making them. They wanted to blow up the cities, right? They famously stated and repeated, and American children used to be taught that science was advancing so fast that even as they made these vicious, cheap, and deadly materials that they could easily dispose of by burial in the earth at sea or just packing them in drums and sticking them in a factory, they believed and told the kids, okay, they're going to grow up in a scientific world and take care of all the problems by continuing with advancing science. But that hasn't happened. That has not happened. The children haven't been taught that. They're not doing well with the chemistry and the math and the science and everything. And this material is toxic and it's causing a lot of problems. And all the chemicals and things in our society right now, all the waste and all those materials that are supposed to be magic, wonderful materials that were invented in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, they're nasty. And we need to get rid of them. And no one's taken any steps to do that. Now, here in Michigan, we want new jobs and we want new industry and we want new science because we want to make some money. We want to be busy. Yet they bring the material from New York and they bury it in the dirt. Okay. And what are we supposed to do with that? Real estate prices are being depressed because of this. Public health is being impacted because of this in a negative fashion. And now they're burying it next to a third river that's going to be contaminated by these materials. The difference between these point of views, between the point of view of myself and our local industries and our local citizens, and the point of view of the people that are doing this, is that they actually believe it's safe what they're doing. Just because they have a list of reasons of why it's safe that they made up. And we're supposed to believe that. Now we know it's not. And if you put it in your house or you put it in their house, you would get sick if it was in your house and they would get sick if it's in their house. Now they put it in our house and they are telling us it's okay, and it's not okay. The two major rivers have already been poisoned, and this one is going to be poisoned, the Huron River here in the southeastern Michigan. Now, the material is the United States is the property of the United States government, and they're transferring it. The Department of Energy already transferred responsibility for it to the United States Army Corps of Engineers, who is now transferring the placement of it all over the country. How are you going to trace that? You can't do that. So anyway, these people cannot interfere. You know, you've heard of NIMBY, not in my backyard, and all that stuff, right? One of the Van Buren charter townships made a joke about that. Well, let me tell you something. You cannot interfere with the reproductive rights of our citizens anymore, no matter where you are, no matter who you are. You cannot interfere with their reproductive rights. It is morally, ethically, and it's going to be legally wrong, and it is personally wrong and religiously wrong to put materials in the ground that are going to cause mutagenic changes in embryos and fetuses in mommy's bellies while they're getting ready to have a family. Now, I don't know what's worse than attacking the family and children and reproductive rights and babies and embryos. Then there's what is that? And it's got to stop. The material is coming from Lewiston, New York, by way of Governor Hochul over there. And over here in Michigan, Governor Whitmer apparently knew about it but didn't tell anybody. Republic Services is the one handling it. They're taking it from the United States Army Corps of Engineers. It's not quite clear who's running the stuff across the country. Hey, they just didn't take any time to tell us about it. Now, Van Buren Charter Township is going to profit directly from this. And Republic Services is profiting directly from this. Okay, thanks.